And what about your phone? Do you need it on silent?
Yeah, it is on silent. Okay, ready? Here we go. Hello, my name is Douglas Block. I'm an author and depression counselor. Welcome to your depression recovery channel. Where we're doing, I think it's our 8th live video chat. It's 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time in Portland, Oregon, a cloudy day in October. And I'm here, as I always am, to answer any of your questions and to talk about any aspect of mental health recovery, whether it's depression, anxiety, thought disorders, even borderline personality disorder. My main expertise, obviously, is in anxiety and depression. That's why I call my group Healing from Depression and Anxiety. Hi, Ann. Oh, hey, I really appreciate the comments you made, last couple of comments you made on my videos. That was really nice. Nice to see you here. What country are you calling from, or chatting from, whatever? Anyway, feel free to ask any question you want, and I'll see what I can do. I wanted to start by talking about DGBs. Hi, Doug. Thanks for doing these. Yeah, you're more than welcome. More than welcome. Anyway, I wanted to start to talk about until I hear a question. You're from England. God, you know, so many Brits are following this channel of mine and are on these live chats. We got people from Scotland, from Ireland, from Great Britain. We got a gal in my support group from Northern England, and I lived in Scotland for 6 months many years ago at the Findhorn Foundation. So I have a great, place in my heart for the British, and my name Douglas is Scottish. It means by the Black Stream, so it's a Celtic name. So there you have it. April, one of my fans. Thanks for coming on again. Anyway, April's in my support group. If you remember April, maybe you could start the ball rolling. We were talking about last night at the group this whole idea of people who are depressed are very hard on themselves and call themselves names and talk to themselves in the way they wouldn't talk to their last enemy. There's a sort of self-loathing and self-criticism. I remember one of the people in the group said, when he makes a mistake, he says, "You stupid so-and-so." So Anno says you are far ahead of us in mental health care. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I always thought, the British nationalized health insurance, health insurance guaranteed for everyone. But when I talk to people in Great Britain, their access to resources and to good mental health care are far less than we have here. We have electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, in all of our main cities. We have something called TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation. I don't even think that's available in Great Britain. And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, not everybody gets insurance unless you're employed or unless you're on Medicare or Medicaid. Yeah, shame is a terrible thing and should never be passed on, says April. Yeah, so as I said last night in the group, guilt is I made a mistake, shame is I am a mistake. And so what we did was you tried to get people to find other ways to talk to themselves when they make a mistake, like, okay, you messed up, you'll do better next time, instead of you stupid, worthless piece of crap. Mental health is underfunded, says Anno, compared to the physical. Well, welcome to my world. I mean, that's what it is all over the world. I'm going to do a video called "Would you rather be depressed or have cancer?" That may seem like an absurd question, but people in the group who are basically cancer survivors tell me that when they've been diagnosed with cancer, they've had a lot more sympathy and empathy than people who, when we're diagnosed with depression or certainly psychosis. By the way, a quick question for you folks who are basically watching. I am planning on doing these videos on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time and also Saturday or Sunday. I noticed when I did it Sunday at noon, we had a lot of people watching. Does it matter to you whether it's Saturday at noon or Sunday at noon? Do you think either weekend day one is better than the other? Because I'm going to do this every day on a specific weekend day, whether it's going to be Sunday or Saturday. I wonder if you had any thoughts about which of the 2 days you think is better to do this live chat. Hi, Douglas. I'm at work now. Just wanted to say hello from Chicago. Cool. Let me go over here and move this screen so I can see a little bit better, you guys. Okay, fantastic. Wow, Kyle says, I remember being in a mental hospital. They charged $30,000 for being there in 2 weeks. The food was horrible, and all they did is give you pills and go to my room, never going there again. Kyle, where was that mental hospital? Was it in America? Was it in Britain? Was it somewhere else? Because normally when you're in the psych ward, and I've been there 5 times, usually you're up and at 'em. You go to groups, you go to therapy. They keep you busy, occupational therapy, art therapy, etc. Um, as long as you know in advance, it doesn't matter which day. Well, right now I'm going to stick. I think my favorite day is Sundays. Uh, so Kyle Lindbergh says Fairview. Do you mean Fairview in Oregon, like in Portland? I know there's a Fairview here. What are the signs that an episode of depression is on the way, says Patty Brady? Well, that's an excellent question. Have you ever heard the phrase the canary in the coal mine? You know, they used to put canaries out in the coal mine when they were concerned that gas might be leaking. And if it was leaking, the poor canaries would die, but at least they alert the other human beings that there's gas there. That's canary in the coal mine. Well, the canary in the coal mine for depression is insomnia, one of the main things. Every time I've been on the verge of going into a major depressive breakdown, I've noticed that my sleep has been disrupted, that I've not been able to stay asleep. I go to sleep, but I can't stay asleep. I wake up in the middle of the night and can't get back to get in bed and ruminate and anxious and pace. So one sign is, Patty, is sleep disruption. Another side is loss of depression and things, loss of interest in things you like to do, and also social withdrawal. Oh, in Minnesota, huh? Well, is Fairview anywhere near like St. Paul, Minneapolis, St. Paul? They have pretty good mental health resources there. Because when you're in the hospital, you should not just be sitting in your room all day, being on a bunch of drugs. You should be doing something and actively engaged. I'm coming out with a video soon called "The Best Way to Avoid Anxiety," and the answer is stay occupied, get busy. Sitting around with your thoughts and ruminating all day is a recipe for disaster. So yeah, I'm sorry that it was the worst and scariest times of my life when I started racing thoughts and anxiety and panic. Yeah, you're losing your mind. So Kyle, what brought you out of it? Anne says, I have intrusive thoughts and anxiety as the first sign of anxiety for depression. I have intrusive thoughts and anxiety as the first symptoms for depressive. Anxiety first, depressive second. Yeah. Lee McQueen says, good evening from Ireland, Doug. Hope you're doing Lay. Hey, great. It's nice to see you again. Is it Lay or Lee? Well, of course, you can't tell me. I can hear you. You can always spell it out phonetically, maybe. Anyway, does that answer your question about the first signs of depression? Yeah, rumination, social withdrawal, sleep disruptions, lack of energy, loss of pleasure, all of that stuff is true. So I wanted to go back to what we were talking about last night. Lay, it all sounds the same to me. Well, I'll call you Lee. Anyway, I wonder if any of you listeners or viewers have the same problem, that when you make a mistake or you do something wrong, you really get down on yourself and beat yourself up. I wonder if we could hear some yays or nays, because that is a big problem with people who suffer from anxiety and depression. By the way, is the sound still good? I've got a new setup here in terms of my new laptop camera. Last time, computer, last Sunday it sounded really good. A couple of weeks ago the sound was pretty poor, but I think the sound should be really good. Random reviews. Nice to see you. When I go to bed in the night, I'm not able to sleep. What should I do? Yeah, well, are you not able to fall asleep? If you're not able to fall asleep, thank you, Lee, for telling me the sound is great. If you're not able to fall asleep, try a warm, tepid bath. Try chamomile. Try natural things. If that doesn't work, go to your psychiatrist or your nurse practitioner and get not sleeping pills, not Lunesta, but antidepressants. Certainly, there are 3 antidepressants in low doses that can help people fall asleep. One is called Remeron, the other is called Trazodone, and the other is called amitriptyline. If you go ahead and send me an email, douglasblock@gmail.com, I can spell those out for you. But those are 3 excellent antidepressants. And if you really can't sleep, go get something called Seroquel. That's a horse tranquilizer. That's a major tranquilizer for people with psychosis. That'll knock you right out. So there are medications, but I try some I try some behavioral stuff first. There's a very good book called No More Sleepless Nights. If you pick that up, it talks about sleep hygiene and things you can do to prepare yourself uh, for bed. Make sure there's no lights on in the room, and that will help you get to sleep better. Um, Patty says, my mood is always the worst when the dark evening comes around Christmas. Yeah, well, the darkness, right. The winter solstice, really tough. What are those prescription drugs, says Random Reviews? One is called Remeron, Remeron. The other is called Trazodone, Trazadone. And the other is called amitriptyline, Amitriptyline. Have you ever heard of Inderal? Sure, it's also called propranolol, Lee. Some kind of beta blocker. Yes, it's a beta blocker for reducing blood pressure, but it also reduces anxiety. I know a gal who's been on Inderal for about 35 years. It's the only thing that controls her anxiety. No side effects. You can't get addicted to it like you can Xanax or Klonopin or Valium. Everyone just, Patty, I have these issues around the holidays too because so many of my family members passed away during that time. Yeah, the holidays are supposed to be a time of joy, but they can be a really depressing time for people who don't have family. Also, it's the darkest time of the year. There's no natural light. If you suffer from seasonal affective disorder, SAD, you're going to be in trouble. And will I get addicted to these meds, Patty? Random Reviews, you will not get addicted to the antidepressants I mentioned or the Seroquel. They are not addictive. They are not habit forming. There are low doses of antidepressants. I've been working with people for 17 years, and guess what? I've taken all three of them, and I've never gotten. I've been taking amitriptyline, also known as Alfil, since 1996. That's what is that? 21 years? No problem. Uh, Lee says I started taking them 1 week ago, and my anxiety is easing off. What have you been taking, Lee? Which particular ones? Tyler, nice to see you. I'm here again from the other day. Have anything on how to overcome a gambling addiction? Wow. Yeah, that is tough. My cousin, who is a brilliant, brilliant person that rose high in the advertising field in the United States, got into a gambling addiction. That when you gamble and you get that rush of winning the video poker, it does the same thing to your brain that cocaine and methamphetamine do. It lights up the pleasure center, just like the video lights. There are, in every state where there's a lottery, there is help for gambling addiction. There are programs offered. There's also Gamblers Anonymous. I would suggest you go to Gamblers Anonymous and go to some of the programs in your state offered by the lottery. I don't know. Tyler, are you, what country are you in? I don't know. Random Review says, are you a doctor? Well, I was going to be a doctor. Funny thing happened to me on the way to medical school. I had a nervous breakdown. Oh, well. I was, however, to graduate. I was able to graduate college with my MA, BA in psychology, and then I went back to the University of Oregon, got an MA in counseling psychology, and so I'm what's called a mental health counselor. But having studied psychology for 50 years, especially on myself, I probably know as much as many psychiatrists. As a matter of fact, I know I do because I have friends who are psychiatrists. So I'm not clinically a doctor. Anno says, what is amitriptyline used for? It was the second antidepressant ever found or discovered. And high doses, it's used for depression. In low doses, it's used for sleep. It's really a good sleep medication. Hello from Ohio, says Lisa. Thank you for being here. Yeah, well, Ohio's not a bad place. I have a good friend who's a good chess player it comes from, is it Lima, Ohio, Lima? And guess what? My nephew, my brother, and his wife all went to Oberlin College, great college in Ohio. Try Gamblers Anonymous. Yeah, Tyler, again, where are you living? Are you living in one of the states of the United States of America? Because the state does have programs. Lisa, I had to give up and take medication. My anxiety was flaring up in college, and I had to. Let me see if I can see your question. The questions are coming in very quickly here. My anxiety was flaring up in college, and I had to put a stop to it. They're working wonders, huh? So, how are you doing now, Lee, in terms of your anxiety? Anne says, I'm a doctor of philosophy. Not much use, really. Yeah, right. Yeah, you could get work in a McDonald's or something. I don't know. Is there any people around me? I'm in a pretty. Any rate, I couldn't quite see what you said, Tyler. Let me go down and see what the rest of it you said. I'm in a pretty isolated area. Well, what area are you in, Tyler? Lima, Ohio. Yeah, Lisa, nice place. Sydney comes on. What does the weather in Portland tend to make you? Does the weather in Portland tend to make you depressed? The first year I was in Portland, I was so depressed. I called my parents and said, "Mom and Dad, put me on a plane to Mexico." Why the lack of light? It's a real thing. Over time, as I've gotten used to it, I have something called a light book. I wish I had it with me. I'll have it from now on to show you guys. It's a little square box, about 8 inches by 8 inches, and it produces light that's the exact equivalent of sunlight. If you sit in front of that thing 18 inches away from your head for 20 minutes each morning, it resets your biological clock and you won't have to worry about winter depression or SAD, seasonal affective disorder. So to answer your question, the weather in Portland used to make me depressed, but I found ways to treat it, and now it's not so bad. And if you get out in the morning light, even if when it's overcast like today, you still get enough light to reset your brain. So yeah, uh, am I from Portland, Oregon? I'm from New York City, actually, but I moved to Oregon in 1973 into Eugene, a college town, and I've been in Portland since 83. Howdy, says Low Key Sanity. Nice to see you. If you're in the USA, Tyler, go check with your state. They may have programs, especially if your state has a lottery. Lee says, I can hold a conversation without sweating and freaking out. LOL, yeah, great. Where can you buy what, Lee? Not quite sure. You mean a light box? Yeah, you can get it from Amazon, or you can get it from a place called Lightbook. I'd go to Litebook. Let me see if I can actually type something in this video chat. I had trouble last time. Well, here it is. Lite, Book. Put that in your search engine, and you'll find a website from Canada, and you can get it. That's a really good light box you can get from Canada. It's under Lightbook, Litebook. Yeah. Why does loneliness hurt so much? Oh my! It hurts so much because human beings are hardwired for connection. We're mammals. We have to have love to survive. Without love, we can't survive. That's why loneliness hurts so much. Someone I think asked me about how often I cycle. About 3 or 4 times a week. Yes, what we have is the gray season, says April, where it rains more times than others. Oregons have a short on vitamin D in this season. Yeah, well, that's why you need to take some supplements. Okay, I cycle about 3 or 4 days a week during the summer. It's more like 5 days a week when the weather is nicer. Let me see, random reviews. Doug, you don't look like Mexican people. Did I say I did? I just said I go to Mexico on vacation to get out of the rain. April says, Deborah, I have chronic shame as well. Have you ever looked into what shame attacks are? This has a name. Well, maybe you can, April, you can recommend a book, like John Bradshaw's book, Healing the Shame That Binds You. I'm going to type out right now one of the sleep medications. It's called Remron. And then I'm going to type out another one because someone earlier was asking about antidepressants that can help you sleep. Sorry for my finger pecking. Okay, you got those two? And the last one is AMITRIPTY. Oops, so much for my typing. But anyway, YLINE. It's something like that. So Remron, trazodone, amitriptyline are all the benzos. The benzos, those are not benzos. Benzos are like Valium and Xanax and Klonopin and Ativan. You should not use those for sleep. You can get addicted to them, or you can become dependent upon them. Deborah, thanks, April. I'll check it out. Kindest regards from Scotland. Yep. As I told you, Deborah, I lived in Scotland many years ago and loved it. Isn't it a lot like Oregon? Of course it is. I know it. I lived there. It's very green and very rainy and cloudy in the winter. What do you do, Deborah, when you get SAD or winter depression, or do you even get it? In terms of what we were talking about at the beginning of the chat about this whole idea of people putting themselves down, you got to find nicer ways to talk to yourself. What's the pick of Buddha? It's just sitting up there. My partner Joan is a big fan, and I know a lot of friends who are into Buddhism. Mindfulness meditation, which is really big in the United States, comes from that. So that just happened to be a picture that was on the bookshelf. We're pretty ecumenical here. Uh, you know, we're both very um, interested in the Judeo-Christian point of view, the you know, Eastern point of view. We embrace all paths, you know, leading to the same spiritual consciousness. What kind of diet do you carry? You mean what kind of diet do I eat? I've never heard of carrying a diet. Uh, yeah, rainy, cloudy in the winter. It sounds like Dublin. Yeah, well, Ireland, Scotland. Come on, you're going to get the same kind of windows. I got a book on astrology there. Yeah, well, I wrote a book on astrology. I've written three of them. So uh, another something I used to do many, many years ago. Um, how do you deal with guilt effectively since it can cause depression, says Mamie? You basically learn to forgive yourself and know that you were doing the best you could. And if you feel guilty, you do what AA says, make amends to the people you hurt. Bazowski says hi from Australia, and Random Review says hi, Doug, from the UK. We got a lot of people in the UK. As I say, I love the UK. There's another question I'm going to go to about benzos. Yeah, so again, these medications I mentioned are not benzos at all. And I definitely recommend the book. Okay, what kind of diet do I carry? That's right. Well, I basically am more or less a vegan. I eat fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, and seeds. No dairy, no eggs, no meat. The only exception is sardines. I eat a couple times a week. Why? Because sardines are very high in something called omega-3 fatty acids. If any of you heard of that, you got to get hip to omega-3 fatty acids if you want to feel well and undepressed, because these things are absolutely critical for a good brain functioning. Every nerve in your brain has something called a myelin, M-Y-L-E-I-N, sheath on it, which is made of fat. So we need fat. Fat is not a bad thing, but you want to eat healthy fats. Healthy fats are avocados, nuts, seeds, and omega-3s, which are found in walnuts and flax seeds, but also in fish. And you can get, if you're really a super vegan, you can get omega-3 fatty acids from algae. There's a very good company in America called Deva, D-E-V-A. I'll type it, and you can go to your local health food store, order online, and get these omega-3s. I've been studying diet ever since 1976, when I happened to meet a brilliant chiropractor and also a man named Barney Meltzer. Hi, Barney, if you're listening. Probably not. A physician turned acupuncturist. This was before acupuncture was really hip in 1976, right? I mean, very few people knew about it. And he was a brilliant man who found that he did better healing his patients of their chronic illnesses using diet and exercise and natural methods than surgery, although there, of course, is always a time for surgery. My nephew had a brain tumor. You're not gonna, give him spirulina and get that taken away. He had to have brain surgery, and it saved his life. My friend Tom Daniel says, "Good program." Tom, why don't you create a Google account? Just go to Google and create a Gmail account. Tom Daniels at gmail.com. Even if you don't use it, you can just basically use it to participate in the chats. It's free, of course. Okay, Random Review says, oh, hi, Doug, is from Australia. Okay, any more questions? Just basically, ask Mamie Carson, where are you from? Again, guilt. The way to deal with guilt is to make amends for the people you hurt, and to say to yourself, I had a really cool professor when I was in graduate school at the University of Oregon, U of O. I call it U of Zero, but anyway, they had a lousy football team when I was there. Now, recently football is big in Eugene. But anyway, Susan Rutherford said, remember, everyone was doing the best they could at the time of the event with the knowledge they had, or everybody is currently doing the best they can. When you think about it, maybe if you knew better back then, you wouldn't have made that mistake that caused you guilt. So people are really trying their best for the most part. I have a view that most people are good. I believe, I'm like the Dalai Lama. I think most people are just trying to be happy and trying to attain happiness. Sometimes people don't use the greatest skill, like the person who had the gambling addiction. I forgot your name, but what is gambling? It's a way to, feel good, to feel pleasure. When you win, that's wonderful. But when you lose, it's horrible, and then you can't stop. Any addiction involves engaging in an activity where there are negative consequences and you can't stop it. I don't care if it's marijuana, if it's alcohol, if it's cocaine, if it's methamphetamine, if it's opiates, if it's heroin, if it's sex, if it's shopping, if it's gambling, if it's internet pornography. I mean, I have I've been in a men's group for 15 years, and I've seen it all. And also being a counselor and seeing people in the groups and coaching people all over the world. By the way, I do have a mental health coaching practice, and some of you I do have a couple of people from England and one from Denmark. I should have my Denmark friend participate. I love Denmark. Any of you Brits ever been to Denmark? Anyway, here's my website. If you go to my website, on the front page, you'll see a little link to my coaching program. And you like my website also. I created it in the year 2000. And basically, I did a lot of research, but mostly what I did is I tuned into my own pain and all the suffering I'd gone through. I wonder, did that healingfromdepression.com even show up? I thought I hit, oh, try it again. If you go to somebody who's helping you in anything, like if you're in recovery as an alcoholic, it's always the fellow alcoholics who know best because they've been through it. And there are a lot of good counselors and therapists and psychologists who have not been depressed and can still help people. But if you've been to hell and back, you know exactly what somebody's going through. I'm wondering why healingfromdepression.com. Oh, there it is. My God, I didn't scroll to the bottom. Maybe because I feel the same as you do. I think we're all doing the best we can with the tools we have. Absolutely. Here's Kabir. Hi, Kabir. I feel like sleeping all day, not getting out of bed. I feel nervous, sad, and anxious. What should I do if I go out or not? Please help. Well, if you feel like sleeping all day and not getting out of bed and you're nervous, sad, and anxious, you're suffering from depression and anxiety. You need to get treatment. So that's what you do. I don't know where you're living, but go out and find the nearest counselor, therapist, psychiatrist, and get help, because this thing does not go away on its own. Random Review says, do I have Instagram? No, I've heard of Instagram, but this is going to make me seem like, like I'm a tech, I'm a tech person who doesn't know what. But I've never had Instagram. I know what it is. Martin Hunt says, do you think heroin should be given it clean of doctors and stop drug dealer on streets? No more health problems with drug lords. Maybe not go for coke anyway. Yes, should heroin be legalized is what Martin Hunt is asking. And I actually think it should be. Isn't it legal in Britain? Tell me, somebody from the UK. I think they've legalized it somewhere. In Seattle, Washington, what they're doing is they're not putting people in jail when they find them with heroin on the streets, because when you put people in jail, they just get released and then they go back out and use again. They're giving them access to treatment centers, and that's the only way that you're going to solve the heroin problem is through treatment. And if you cut out the demand, if people don't demand heroin, then it doesn't matter how much supply there is. You want to do something funny? I spent hours in the photo room because they say my eyes are dead and my smile is a fake. Huh. By the way, how's my mood? It's about a 5. I've had some losses going on in my life. They've been really tough. But, speaking of humor, damn, I forgot to bring my props, and I can't get up here and leave. Anyway, here's the joke for you in the United States. You'll get it. We talked about, someone asked about my diet, and I really do try to eat healthy. But, every time I try to eat healthy, a candy bar looks at me and snickers. I think it's funny. Anyway, a Snickers bar, for you guys who are not in America, is a very popular candy bar that I ate as a kid. It's really, really bad for you. It has lots of fat and sugar and saturated fat, but hey, what did we know, right? So my mood is okay, Patty. We had a member of our support group, his mother had a major health problem come up, and it's bringing us all down. I'll tell you one thing. If you want to be free of depression, do your best to take care of yourself physically, because when your physical health is down the tubes, so goes your mental health. That's why in my book, Healing from Depression, 12 Weeks to a Better Mood, I say that all mental health self-care starts with physical self-care. If you're not sleeping, if you're not eating, if you're not moving, there's no way you're going to feel good. You're not going to feel vital and alive and productive if your body feels like crap. And that's why in my groups, I always ask people, how's your sleep this week? how's your diet, and how's your exercise. I want to know from people what are their favorite kinds of exercise, because as I've said many times, and I have a video on it about cycling on my YouTube channel. Uh, it's cycling is what really gets my blood moving, and when you get your blood moving enough, and when your heart rate is high enough, and there's enough blood flow and oxygen flow to your brain, the endorphins get released, and you feel wonderful. I've had so many times where it's 3 o'clock and I just feel down. I've written, I'm exhausted, and I go with a friend and climb up Rocky Butte here in Portland, Oregon, and by the time I get to the top, I'm a new man. So exercise is really, really helpful in regulating your mood. Still free for any questions come up. As I say, I have this coaching program, and oh yeah, there's something. Do you guys see something called Super Chat on your screen? That's a way to support this channel. Somebody during my last video live chat on Sunday said they wanted to maybe make a small donation. Well, if you do, you can click on that button. It'll ask you how much you want to contribute. I think you can start at $1 or something, and then as a gift, your name goes to the top of the chat list. But at any rate, that's what that super chat button is for. So let me see if I have any new questions here. Your sound quality is very good. It feels like I'm listening to a radio station. Excellent. Well, so much for Macintoshes, right? You can't beat an Apple computer. Winston says, cheers, Lee. That's a fair point. I need to work on thinking that way. Mamie donated $2. Wow. No problem, man. Thanks. I don't see it here, but maybe it happened. My partner is a psychoanalyst. Team Marine. Carlson, something said somebody. Oh yeah, Mamie Carlson. Thank you for all you do. Thank you, Mamie. Wow, I really appreciate your small contribution. That was very kind of you. So GBZ says my partner is a psychoanalyst. Why, knowing all that he does, did he completely cut me off, then return for a bit, communicating text, and disappear again? He seems very conflicted. Hey, you know what my mother used to say? Psychiatrists are kooks. They're kooks. That's what she used to say. Just because someone's a psychoanalyst or a psychiatrist, they have very high suicide rates, psychiatrists, I hate to tell you. So think about it. You hear problems all day. You see all the suffering. It gets to you. So, there's something called compassion fatigue that a lot of people like me suffer when you're around other people's pain. So you got to take care of yourself. So even though your partner is a psychoanalyst, it doesn't mean that he or she doesn't have problems. And if you're in the old days when psychoanalysis came out with Freud, every analyst had to be an analyst themselves. You could not practice psychoanalysis unless you were an analyst. Doesn't that make sense? Every therapist should have a therapist. Every counselor should have a counselor. So maybe your partner didn't have that, and he seems very conflicted. Join the human race. It's natural to be conflicted. So thanks again for that, maybe for that donation on Super Chat. I really appreciate it. See, what other questions do we have here? Maybe you buy money from YouTube. No, you put in your CC info. I mean, I guess that's credit card, right? Yeah. How much does $2 YouTube money cost? You just type in your credit card. Do you know Karan Gandhi? I think he's your mentor. Well, I don't know. That's you. You're my mentor. Well, nice to hear it. What do you think contributed to your recent relapse? Were you taking care of yourself? What did you stop doing that could trigger it? Well, it had to do with actually a very simple thing. I did a video on it. You guys should go to my channel and look at the video I just posted on Monday, 2 days ago, on something called akathisia, which is an adverse reaction to an antidepressant, which can cause you to pace, move around, and be highly, highly anxious, and even feel suicidal. I took something called Lexapro, and it had shot me to the moon. And I was mildly depressed. Hey, I've been depressed since the sperm hit the egg, right? It's a chronic thing. I have something called dysthymia. You guys should look at that video. Low-grade chronic depression. So I took a drug, had a bad reaction. Why do I feel deep hate inside? Wow, that's an intense question, low-key sanity. I don't know. Maybe you were not given the love you needed as a child, and you have a lot of pain from the past. I would definitely go to a counselor and work that out. I don't know what that Kabir Gandhi question was. So you'll have to let me know. Um, Random views. What kind of music should I listen to? Unwind and relax. Classical music. Uh, any music you like. You know, music from the 17th century. You can listen to some rock and roll if you like. Stevie Wonder. Uh, my opinion on Prozac is Truth Seeker. It helps a lot of people. But like all SSR medications, you should start low. You should start at 5 milligrams of Prozac, not 10. Take the capsule, empty it into the bottle, and or into a glass of water. Uh, Ambient music. I love ambient music. You ever hear airport music by Brian Eno? I play that all the time while I'm riding. So Prozac is a very good antidepressant. It doesn't work for everybody, and some people it has really bad side effects, so you have to take it carefully. I have constant anxiety while trying to change meds, and two bereavements hit me. Any advice? If you have had two bereavements, you need to go to get grief counseling. You need to read some books on grief, and go to a therapist for that. And changing medications is a big deal. Anxiety is normal. Pain must be frustration, or anything that puts a smile on your face, says Lee. What advice would you give for PTSD sufferers? I'd read a book called The Body Keeps the Score, which is an amazing book on PTSD. I'd also go to a therapist or counselor who specializes in treating PTSD. Magic mushrooms are very good resets for your brain. For some people, Martin. For other people, they can really blow you away. So, does the climate in Portland aggravate depression? Is seasonal depression a real thing? It's a very real thing in Portland, Oregon. I think April talked about the rainy season here, which we're just starting. So yes. So EDB 1000, yes. A book called The Body Keeps the Score is an excellent book, and I will type it out. Can you please play me background music, low volume? I have absolutely no idea how to do that. So if I did, I think it would completely mess up the video. Anyway, I'm typing in The Body Keeps the Score. Anyway, this is a guy by Bessel van der Kerk. Too complicated to spell, but you should definitely go ahead and check that book out on Amazon.com, or take it to a library or buy it. April says, Deborah, please feel to contact me for support. I was exactly where we were 7 months ago. Between Douglas's group and CODA, I've made great strides. April certainly have. Not cured by any means, but learning to do a lot, much in healthier ways. Hugs. Yeah, you guys should connect with each other. I hear that MDMA can be a treatment for PTSD, says Bazowski. Yes, it can. And I think it's legal here in the United States if a therapist is authorized to use it, but you don't want to take it on your own. You don't want to take MDMA, and you don't want to self-medicate. You know what they say? Any person who's his own doctor has a fool for a physician. By the way, that's how I got in trouble. Someone asked about my last breakdown. I took the Lexapro on my own. I found it. It was my wife's old prescription. Didn't even go to a doctor. And wasn't that silly? I have to forgive myself for that. Thank you for your advice. We'll definitely read it. Yes, definitely get that book. And also, just go to the internet and go to YouTube. And after you're done with the video chat, put in post-traumatic stress disorder treatment, and you'll get a lot of good stuff. That we learned about that from the Vietnam War. And of course, many of you know my age. There's a great documentary on Vietnam on public television by Ken Burns. Did you say Lexapro sent you into severe depression? No, it gave me a lot of anxiety. Let me see. My doctor tells me I have bipolar disorder. They're not able to heal me. 3 years old. I feel like sleeping all day. I feel sad. You should be able to get some bipolar disorder treatment seriously, because there are many good mood stabilizers about that. Did you say Lexapro sent you into a depression? It can be. I was on the antidepressant 10 years ago. Well, yeah, they can be dangerous, but only if you don't know how to take them properly. So you were on them 10 years ago, never take them again. I'm sorry you had a really bad experience. They do. You like your mic jokes, Mamie? Excellent. Why was the Scarecrow a very successful neurosurgeon? He was outstanding in his field. How's that for a pun? All right, Cade says thank you. But anyway, I'm sorry, Cade, that the Lexapro was bad for you. I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Lexapro made my anxiety first, said Bezowski, it made mine worse. Some of these SSRIs make anxiety worse. What can I tell you? So, can the death of a parent during adolescence trigger PTSD? You better believe it. The death of a parent during childhood is the number one predictor of depression as an adult. Let me say that again. The death of a parent in childhood is the number one predictor of depression as an adult. Loss is a major trigger. I had a video about 4 weeks ago called The Number One Cause of Depression. It's not low serotonin up here. It's not bad genes. It's loss, separation from other human beings, separation from love. That is the number one trigger for depression. Can the death of a parent during adolescence? Yeah, I just mentioned that, of course. Loki says, I have one more question. How come sometimes I feel nothing for anyone? I just feel empty, like I'm in a dark void place. That is the depression. You might have some derealization or depersonalization. I don't know how to treat that. I need to look into it. A lot of people have it. This is definitely something going on with your brain chemistry, low-key sanity. And it's not a normal way to feel, as you know, but you can basically get help from it. There's so many people who know so many things. You're so funny, dude. You make an excellent stand-up comedian. Well, thank you. He's in therapy and has been part of this program, which is great. I don't know who he is. Gee, I wish I had another. What did the comedian, or actually, yeah, what did the court jester eat for dinner? Fish and quips. My God, that was bad. I'll have to come up with a better one. I'm going to have my joke book by my side and just randomly open up this stuff. Here's one. I'll get this. I'm sorry, guys. This is from the Borscht Belt in the Catskills. A patient went to a doctor, and the doctor said, "You have only 6 weeks to live." Well, the patient couldn't pay his bill, so the doctor said, "Well, I'll give you another 6 weeks to live." All right. Okay. Let's get some questions answered. If you experience a freeze effect following announcement of the death of a loved one, does this mean you have been dissociated? It means the stress response has been activated. It's fight, flight, or freeze. That's what happens in the stress response. And yeah, you've had a shock. Of course, you're going to feel a freeze response. And that's the trauma that loss causes. So again, find yourself a counselor. Take good care of yourself, and this too shall pass, as it always does. But yeah, I'm sorry about the death of a loved one. It's very traumatic. Deborah JKD says, I would like mental illnesses were not known as such. They could be known as brain illnesses. What's your thoughts? Kind regards and smiles from Scotland again. Of course, they're actually brain disorders or brain diseases. Yeah, I don't like that term, mental illness. It's very stigmatizing. Imagine going out on a date and saying, hey, my name is Douglas. Glad to meet you. I have a mental illness. I would end that date pretty quickly, wouldn't it? But if I said, my name is Douglas, I'm suffering from, I just had a broken leg, that's why I'm in a wheelchair, the person would say, fine, no problem. But if you tell them you have a brain disorder, wow, then there's something really bad about you. So yeah, I don't like the term mental illness either. I like brain. I think the word illness is a really stigmatizing word. I'd rather say brain disorder. And that's exactly, by the way, what the National Institute of Drug here in the United States, the National, I can't remember. Anyway, it's a part of the U.S. government that deals with drug addiction. National Institute of Drug Abuse. Thank you, NIDA, N-I-D-A. I got it. Anyway, they call addiction a brain disorder, and I would say that depression is a brain disorder. And I would further say that 80% of the people who are addicted are also depressed and have anxiety. It's called co-occurring disorders. Every person I've talked about who ever got into substances initially started out by saying, I feel shitty, I want to feel better. So yeah, so brain disorder is the thing to use. Hey, Leanne, you say I'll have to remember that. I'm not quite sure what you have to remember, but I'm glad you're going to remember it. And I don't know what Lee said about agreeing with Sydney, but maybe Carson said, did you do ECT to get better faster? Maybe. I did ECT to get better. I was suicidally depressed. That means that I was a goner, medication. I've always been medication resistant. And, ECT saved my mother's life when she had a psychotic depression at the age of 79, completely lost her mind, not like me. I was depressed, but I was still lucid. My mother was completely gone, and it brought her back from the grave, and that's what it did for me. So yes, it didn't get me better faster. It got me better when nothing else would help. I'm sorry that there's so much stigma about ECT. Uh, Mr. Case 22 says, thank you for so much for all you do. Thank you. Mr. Quesada, I'm sorry. Is that you Latin or I love that name. Sounds like quesadilla. Steve Larson says, they said that the gut is your second brain and a number of illnesses begin in the gut. That's why nutrition is so significant. Cindy, you're right on. I am going to do a video called Happy Gut, Happy Brain. If you send me your email address, I'll tell you exactly when it's coming out. You're so right. There's something called probiotics. Has anybody heard the term probiotics? It's the exact opposite of antibiotics. Pro meaning supporting, biotics meaning biology. Kimchi, cabbage, all fermented foods have them. And you can also take capsules of probiotics. You should take them on a regular basis because the healthier your gut is, the healthier your brain will be. It is the second brain. When someone says, I have a gut feeling, wow, what does that mean? It means I feel in my gut. I feel that's why having a gut feeling is such a good thing to go upon. You should never go against your gut feeling if you can, because that's your intuition. That's your brain speaking to you from a place of wisdom. Leanne, what was so funny? You said, ha ha. I must have been an old joke I said. Kabir says, my doctor tells me to participate in daily activities. I don't feel like going out. I'm on valproic acid. And listen, what should I do? I'm not able to study. I'm also afraid. Well, it seems like your depression or your bipolar is not sufficiently treated. But, have someone come over to your house and help you get out. Have somebody walk with you. We had a guy in our group. He was so depressed he just slept all day. So two of the other members, they were all retired. They were all in their 60s. He was a retired post person. These other two guys knocked on his door at 9 a.m. on a Saturday, woke him up, stuffed him to a car, drove him up the Columbia River Gorge where we live, and took him on a hike, 2.3 miles, 1,500 feet. He wasn't depressed when he got to the top of Angel's Rest. No way. He was invigorated. He wouldn't have done it without other people. So maybe, Kabir, you can have a friend come over and take you for a walk and have some people support you if you can't do it on your own. And if you're already... if your mood is still bad, go back to your doctor and see what else they can do. Or find a support group. That's really, really helpful. Any thoughts about impulse control? Yeah. People with attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, have impulse problems. There are ways you can learn to do that through cognitive behavioral therapy. There's also medications like Vyvanse and Adderall that you could take. Do you like Peter Bregan's Simple Truths About Society on videos on YouTube, says Cade. If any of you don't know this, Peter Bregan is a psychiatrist who is anti-psychiatry. He makes these sweeping generalizations that there's no such thing as mental illness, that all psychiatric drugs are bad, and I do not agree with him. Now, do psychiatric drugs do bad things? Yes. Do people have bad reactions? I'm one such person. But to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say they're all bad, and ECT is horrible, he does not know what he's talking about. He has not seen 11 to 12 or 13 people like I have get their lives saved from ECT. I could write a book about it. So no, I don't agree with his videos. I feel like support groups sometimes make me worse, Doug. Why? I don't know. Maybe they're not the right type of support groups. April, can you comment on that? In our support groups, we focus on the positive. We have people write down goals and figure out ways they can help each other and one another. So if people just are coming to a support group and expressing their pain, I went to a suicide bereavement group one time. I'll never go back there again. It was so hard because, being a survivor of suicide is a nightmare, but when you have a bunch of survivors getting in a room together and sharing their pain, it can be overwhelming. Now, if you know someone who's suicided, I'm not saying don't go to a suicide support group, but I'm saying that it can be very heavy, and a depression support group can too. But I like to keep things light. That's why I hear Bruce. Hey, Joe, do you want to bring Bruce in? My cat, my mascot. April knows who he is. So anyway, yeah, try a different support group maybe. It's like people going to 12-step groups. Sometimes an Alcoholics Anonymous group is not the right group, so find another group if you can. Truth Seeker 1515, do bipolar disorder require mania? Yes. The only way you have a bipolar disorder diagnosis is if you've had an episode of mania. And uh, so that's how you diagnose it. There's Bruce. Should we have Bruce sit on my lap for a second? Okay, get this guy. How do we hold his face up to the camera? Brucey, Brucey, look at the camera. There he is. Don't you love this cat? He's my Persian cat and mascot. I did a video on him called Bruce the Cat Who Heals Depression. I should have held him with the camera longer. I'm sorry about that. Juliet says, do you have personal experience with medication to treat anxiety? Hey, Julia, I was anxious for 9 straight months every day, pacing up and down, beating myself in the head. Yes, a Klonopin, Klonopin, saved my life short term. Go Bruce, says April. So yeah, I have lots of experience with medication for anxiety. I've also taken Ativan. Yeah, they sit around and talk about their problems. You have to do more than that, Mamie, in a support group. We also have to talk about the solutions. In the depression support group that April is in, we talk about not only why you're feeling bad or how you're feeling bad, but what you can do about it. So everybody has to set goals and use activities and strategies that will help, whether it's walking or running or going out with a friend or going to a movie or putting on or listening to humor or listening to music or basically going to, praying or going to a spiritual community. There are so many things you can do to increase your mood, exercise being the best. So no, we don't just talk about problems in my groups. We talk about solutions. So you may want to go to a group where people talk about solutions also. Okay, what else do we have? Leanne says, I think it makes sense. I think it makes me realize when I go to support groups or therapy, it makes me realize that I'm truly sick and I don't really want to face it and accept it. Well, you're not truly sick. That's a shaming phrase. You are in pain. And you got to face your pain or accept your pain if you're ever going to basically get over it. So, acceptance is the first step in change. That may seem like a paradox, but it's true. To change something, you first have to acknowledge it. There's a really famous book called Radical Acceptance that I highly recommend to everybody that talks about this. I take Klonopin too. It really helps. Yeah, I don't know how much you take, Leanne. You know that you're not supposed to take benzos on a regular basis for too long because they can be habit forming, but they can also help. Best exercise for anxiety, get a punching bag and pretend it's anxiety plugs you hit in super shape at the same time, both mentally and physically. Yeah, hitting a punching bag is a great way to release physical energy. It's also a way to get anger out of you. There's an old phrase way back from the days of psychoanalysis. Depression is anger turned inwards. And we have a member of our group who has been angry for a while and has had a hard time expressing it, and that contributes to the depression. So yes, get a punching bag and knock the crap out of anxiety. Great idea. How do you use Klonopin short term and not become dependent? The way I use it is whenever my anxiety got out of control, I take a 0.5 milligram, and that may be 3 or 4 times a week. That's not enough to get you dependent on it. If you're taking Klonopin 3 milligrams a day, 7 days a week, you will become dependent. So use it as needed or use it in low doses. I don't think 0.5 milligrams is enough to get people dependent, but everybody's brain chemistry is different. Best investment I ever made, says Lee, about the punching bags. Thank you from India, says Kabir. Yes. Depression is horrible, says True Seeker. I try and exercise, swimming, walking 14 floors twice a week instead of the elevator. Yeah, walking 14 floors. When my godson was in the hospital and was really going through a bad time, I got him a pass one day, and he's an amazing athlete, but he wasn't in shape at that point. And I had him go ride up this 500-foot mountain called Rocky Butte. And when he got to the top, he was so out of breath. I said, my friend, what were you thinking about the last 30 seconds? Your problems? How miserable you are? He says, no, I was just trying to figure out how to take my next breath. That's what intense exercise does. It takes your mind right off that pain and gives you a lot of free good chemicals called endorphins. Andrew Levy, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Good to have you here. How am I supposed to know when I'm having the right outlook on life after being hit by depression? Well, when you start to feel optimistic and looking forward to doing things, then you'll know you're out of the depression, when you actually have something to look forward to. I'm addicted, but doctors don't warn me years ago. 1 milligram 3 times a day. But that's the way it goes. Try to get off. Okay, well, if you're taking 1 milligram 3 times a day and you can't get off it, well, there's worse things. My cousin was on barbiturates for 60 years and he survived. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, but he's still hanging in there. So yeah, I'm sorry you can't get off it, but I don't think it's going to give you any major physiological problems. Shara says, I can't even open up with a therapist. I feel completely alone. I hate taking medications. I can't bring myself to go for therapy anymore. It's increasingly difficult not to harm myself. So, yeah, I don't know what to say except that you got to get some friend or someone to help you seek out therapy, because if you don't reach out for help, I have three pillars of mental health recovery: set the intention to heal, reach out for support, and treat your depression using a mutually supportive treatment. So you have to reach out for support if you're going to get better. Kibir says, from the last 3 years, some of the form of intellectual impairment to take over. I can't study. Can bipolar disorder cause this? Well, it can certainly cause you not to focus. I don't think it does any long-term intellectual damage, but it can really mess you up. I'm worried that my anxiety will be able to stop me from working out. So far I've managed for 10 months. Well, good. You need to push through the resistance and work out anyway when you're anxious, because that's the best thing you can do. So just keep pushing yourself through. Mamie Carson, Shira, can you, when you can't, you must. When you must, you can. This quote helps. This quote helps me. By the way, I had a friend of mine just sent me a text about the Trump phenomenon in the United States. Well, I don't want to get into politics, but in the United States, we have a president which a lot of people feel really bad about, and I've known people who have gotten severely depressed because of that. And what I would say was the best way to overcome depression is involve and take action. So if you don't like the current administration, get involved, get into support some group called Move On, or write to your senators, or do something so you don't feel so powerless. And that's anyone. I'm not trying to take sides politically, but in general, when you feel powerless about something, try to take action that will get you out of it. I have a dry erase board in my bedroom. Learned this from DBT. I read messages, positive ones. It helps. Yeah, Leanne, that's a tremendous idea to write positive messages on your erase board. That's great. I read affirmations every day. I have them all typed up and read them. How's this one? Very famous affirmation from the turn of the 19th century. Every day, in every way, I am getting better, better, and better. Excuse me. Every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. Write that down and say it to yourself 100 times a day. You'll start to feel something. Hey, Ann, nice to see you back again. In reference to having bipolar, how can you approach the day with a good mood when you haven't slept? This happens to me sometimes. Yeah, when you haven't slept, it's really hard to be in a good mood. You just got to try to do the best you can and get a better night's sleep the next day. By the way, it's now 57 minutes and 28 seconds into this video. I do it for an hour, so we have 2.5 minutes to wrap things up. Leanne says, there can be no happiness if the things we believe in are different from the things we do. That's lovely. Can you, this live chat's going to go away. Can you go ahead and post that, Leanne, in one of my videos? That would be great. Doug, you should see Patton Oswalt's new stand-up on Netflix. Deep stuff and funny. Thank you. I will. Appreciate that. Patton Oswalt. Okay, I'll remember that. By the way, your videos reach me all the way to Brazil. Wow. Hey, you guys in Brazil shouldn't take your soccer team so seriously. It can really put you in a bad mood when they lose. Thank you for reaching out. Nice background music. Yeah, that's my wife on her elliptical in the back room. It's Vivaldi. Yeah, you can hear it. It's not coming from the computer, but it's really calming. By the way, that is Vivaldi, right? Background music can become really, really, not background music, classical music can be really healthy and healing to people. Yeah, it soothes the soul, Tree Seeker. Vivaldi, it is Vivaldi. Yeah, one of my favorites. All those people from the 1700s, amazing. So yes, I find that that playing Bach, playing Vivaldi, playing Telemann, all these people, and of course Mozart, the greatest of all. So I highly recommend. There's something actually called the Mozart effect, a book written on it, where it helps you think better and more clearly to listen to that kind of music. So yeah, music is a wonderful way to treat depression and anxiety. Highly recommend it, and if you can play music, it's even better. If my heart can conceive it, my heart can believe it, then I can achieve it. Muhammad Ali. You're coming out with him, Lee. Excellent. Love classical, very relaxing, says Leanne. So, guys, I I will be doing this again on Sunday, this coming Sunday at noon. What day is Sunday? We are, what are we on? The 18th? Wednesday? Yeah, 19th, 20th, 21st. So whatever day Sunday is, help me there. I think it's the 22nd of October uh, at noon Pacific Coast time. In the meantime, please check out my channel. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. You'll get notified. If you click on the bell in the upper right hand corner, you'll be notified when every new video comes out. I put out new videos on Monday mornings and live chats on Wednesday and Saturday and Sunday mornings, excuse me. And again, you know, seek help wherever you can find it. Would you tell those suffering not to take their thoughts so seriously until they feel better? Well, it's hard not to take your thoughts seriously, maybe when you're suffering, but yeah, try to distract yourself and try to be around people who can cheer you up. That's very helpful. So I wish you the best in your mental health recovery. Remember, depression can be treated, anxiety can be treated, bipolar can be treated. There is hope, there is health, there is healing, and you know, I can attest to that not only for myself but all the people I've worked with in my house, around the world, and all I've written. So take care, Doug. Have a great day. Thanks for your time and wisdom. Thank you, Lee, and I hope you cage cheers. Sounds like you're from the UK also, so I'm glad you're all here, and thanks for tuning in, and thanks for your really good questions. Really appreciate it. And Mamie says thanks for the online support group. I appreciate it. Mamie, where are you from? Before I hang up, I'd love to hear where you're living. So maybe I'll wait a couple more minutes to see if you can type that. And yeah, what is it outside? It's not raining. Hey, Victory in Oregon, not to be raining. I don't know if I'll ride my bike today, but I will definitely get on the elliptical and listen to that beautiful classical support classical music that you're hearing in the background. So until we meet again, I wish you the best in your mental health recovery. Thanks.